Something a little different today. I'm going to try and go midday thermaling. In the middle of the day, for people who watch my channel all the time, you'll know the sun doesn't heat the air. You'd think it would. I used to think it does, but it doesn't. The sun doesn't heat the air. The sun heats the ground heats the air, and then the air rises. Now that's why it's cold close to the sun up there, and it's warm down here in the ground. What you do is you try to look at ground features, find hints, find clues to where that rising air is. I want to turn my motor off, fly in circles in those columns of rising air. Picture them kind of like really mild tornadoes. And I'm trying to, find some lift and just practice and have fun and try something different. So the thing that I struggle with most is not coring the thermal or turning sharp enough or whatever. That I'm good with. It's not little tip deflations and such you might catch. Because of my interest in acro, I'm pretty good at handling that and not overreacting to problems. My hard part is finding the right weather. That's my big struggle. And then the way that I've handled like finding smooth weather, whatever, is I look at the weather report and then I associate it with my experience. So that's what I'm doing. I've looked at the weather report. I think it's okay. Maybe low tops of the thermals, but otherwise okay. Now I'm gonna go up there and see what it feels like and sort of build that body of experience. So wish me luck.
So I've been standing here backwards for 5 minutes or so because the wind was fine. I clipped in reverse and it completely died. I said in an earlier video, that is my superpower. I can control the wind. If I clip in reverse, it'll die. Okay, here's the deal. Do you see that dry field in front of me? The theory is that the sun is going to be baking that field, create like lots of heat right there, and then it'll blow at these trees and provide some lift. I would expect the thermal to be on this side of the trees. I'm a little lower than I want to be. So far, fail burger. Do you hear that vario? If it goes bonk, that means I suck. If it goes beep, 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 that means I'm awesome. And I might be a little low to catch this. I might just be out of time. But I was really hoping this dirt would be like super hot and lifty. Fail. Okie dokie. All right. This is why we like E-start. Okay. Same concept, except this time I'm hoping this building and parking lot provide the heated air I'm looking for. How is this like the opposite of good? Man. If any of you paramotor pilots want to fly midday, but you're scared you'll hit a thermal, follow me. I appear to be some sort of expert at avoiding thermals. I want to go right over this building, but that would be like a congested area, and that might be against the rules. Well, I think it is. I'm not positive if an empty building's against the rules, but I'm certain a full one is, and I just don't have much. One solitary hopeful beep. Fail burger. I'm at about 1,500 feet, and I was just gaining altitude to try a different spot when I felt like I was gaining more altitude than I should have. So I turned the motor off and kept going up, at least briefly. I'm at the exact same altitude, 1506. Okay. So I just felt the bump of possibly entering a thermal. I'm going to go straight across it, attempting to get a vibe for how wide it is. It just keeps going up. I'm going to try and core in this spot. Just take big turns, hoping to keep my wing kind of flat. So if you're not used to that vario noise, the beep, 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 that is, I'll call it like mildly positive. You know, you really wanted to get higher pitched and go beep, 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 beep. And then you know you're really gaining altitude great. I'm at 1640. So since we've been talking, I've gained 140 feet. On the weather report, I thought I saw that the thermals stopped at about 2,000. So I might have picked a day with too much high pressure, like a high pressure system, for it to be good at thermaling. I'm sort of just going out here and putting together forecasts and experience and learning. I'm gonna change directions. 1770, so I've gained 270 feet. I had an instructor tell me that altitude was like money. And it just kept like making more and more sense. So here's the thing. When you have altitude, it's easier to gain more altitude, just like money. Like when you have some money, it's easier to earn more money. And then when you have a lot of altitude, it's tempting to piss it away. And when you're really low on altitude, you scratch super hard and you regret the pissing away that you did when times were fat. I'm at 2,000, almost 2,100 there. So now we've gained 600 feet since we started talking. Now, if I read the forecast right, the thermals stop at around 2,000 feet. But I'm just gonna stay coring this thing and see how long it'll take me. So now I'm at, oh, it's getting a little bumpy, 2,800 feet. I've gained, I guess, 1,300 feet since I started this thermal. It's getting colder. I can feel that it's like visibly colder and a little bumpier. And maybe I've topped it out? No? Okay. So I've been at this same altitude, 2,800 something, you know, low 28, high 28 for a while. So what I'm gonna do is head over to that quarry. That's the word I'm looking for. Because I feel like the quarry should kick off a thermal. One, it would be hot. And two, it has these ridges around the side of it so that if any hot air goes against it, they'll get kind of like lifted up. So it should like, not only is there a heat source, but there's a trigger. And we'll see how that goes. So far, my two efforts to predict where thermals are kind of failed. Maybe the third time's a charm. Look at this. I'm like a person who knows what they're doing. So I just got here, and my vario said, good decision. The thing is, I expect the best part of the thermal to be kind of over that corner. And I don't know if the wiser move would have been to turn in the weak lift I found, or to go where I think the good lift is. I'm changing my mind, looking at how wet the ground is there. I'm gonna go back to my weak lift and hope for the best. Like I said before, you know, it's easier to make money when you have money. I might be too low to salvage this, but maybe not. Scratching. 1257 over sea level. 1217. So now, do you see this field here? I'm using it as kind of my last chance. I think that if this thing doesn't produce the lift I need, then I'm going to be starting my motor. 1100. So I've lost 150 feet. 1027. You know, I think this dirt field might make something. I might just be too low to take advantage of it. $928, and that's sea level, so it's probably about 600 feet. Scratching. exhaust sink right here. So if you picture a thermal to look a little bit like a tornado, like a cone, at the top they get nice and wide and it's almost impossible to screw it up. At the bottom they're narrow, and I have this balance of staying in the rising air, which I am not doing well, and shucks, I'm gonna start this motor. Oh, E-start, I love you. But I was starting to say, if I turn sharp, then I lose altitude. And if I don't turn sharp, I'm not in that narrow little thermal. And that's my balance, and I'm still learning. Okay, now I'm working the same thermal I just failed, except this time I started from about 1,500 feet instead of 1,000 feet. And I'm currently at 1827. Currently at 2060, 2070. So I'm doing pretty well here. Do you hear that higher pitch beeping? That's a happy beep. 2240. Do you remember that thing about how, like, once you have money, it's easy to make money, and once you have altitude, it's easy to make altitude? This is kind of reinforcing this lesson learned to me that, if you find yourself within like 600 feet of the ground, you really need to prioritize your landing approach, because it's unlikely that you'll make something out of that thermal. You don't necessarily have to quit. You can be optimistic, but work your backup plan, baby, because at 1,500 feet, which is here maybe 1,100 off the ground, 1,000 off the ground, I feel like I can really core these thermals and it's easy. But when I'm near the ground, I'm not able to scratch and turn it into something better. 2660. Every so often I want a more advanced wing. This is an Ozone Swift 4. It's a high B. I guess it's like the most popular category of wing, the high B. I guess I watch Kyle on his Delta 3, Kyle O'Glee, and then I watch him on his new Xeno and think to myself, I should do that too. Not necessarily the Xeno in particular, because he has a lot more airtime than me. Maybe I should get a Delta 3. Or he went from a Buzz to a Delta, which skips the level that I'm on. Maybe I go from a Swift to an LM7 or something, the Mantra, whatever that wing is, that's 2 levels higher than this, one skip. But then there are days like this where I'm just like, man, I don't mind this built-in safety. I'm at 3,070 right now. Everything is going great. Why change a thing? Also, this wing, it really cuts it up. If you want to do big wing overs or sats on it, it's happy to do them with me. So, yeah, and that might not be so true of those cross-country wings. They're just not built for acro. So why would I close that door? I don't know. I'm just really happy in this wing. I think I'll be using it for probably all season. Also, a lot of people want to switch wings a lot, and man, I might be a little hypocritical here because I switch wings. But if you spend more time at that wing and get more out of it, then you're just a better pilot. If you switch right to these advanced wings, then you're not building the fundamental skills. So maybe I'm talking myself into keeping it. 3,400. Look at this plane. I'm just coming on 4,000 feet now, thermaling, and a plane flew by. I hope he flew by to check me out because he thought I was cool, and not because he didn't see me at all, but it's difficult to tell. 3,900. I know I said 4,000 feet, but now I'm being more accurate. 4,000. Do you see how that field is a good bit in front of me now? The thermals kind of tip over and blow with the wind. So the wind is coming from this direction that I'm looking at, and that's why you could expect the thermal to kind of tip over, and get blown over by the wind a bit. It doesn't really take a lot of pilot like input to stay in the thermal like that, because as the wind blows the thermal over, it blows me over too, and I just stay in the middle of it. So I think I'm just gonna glide probably towards the house, stay away from houses underneath me. Let's do that, and work my way back home. Check this out. So that has to be my friend Ross. I told him I was flying, and he said that he was going to wait for the smooth air tonight, which I can't do because I have PKA tonight. And it looks like Ross came over to come see me. I think that's his Sirocco 2, the 19-meter wing, which is small, so he'll have a hard time thermaling on that. But it's pretty collapse resistant and safe if it does. So it's not a bad choice for midday air. It's just a bad choice for thermaling. Whereas this thing is 28 meters compared to his 19, and way bigger. I'm at 4,400 feet because I cored another thermal, and just sort of, I don't know. I was going back to the house. I was kind of done flying, and then it was like, yeah, if there's gonna be a thermal right here, I might as well get a little more experience. My house and my yard, I think it's a trigger. If you look at it, you can see how it would be hotter than the trees. Even though it's grass, it's hotter than the trees. And then as the air blows in any direction, it has to hit trees, and that would, sort of make it lose its affinity to the ground and pretend it's sucked to the ground. It hits the trees and it gets bumped up and free. The thing is, I don't normally core thermals over my house, because unless, like today, it's going in just the right direction, I'm kind of headed into the wind, it blows you over congested areas in the other three directions. And I want to say that free flight pilots fly over, like, they break all sorts of FAR 103 rules, but motor pilots have an easier time obeying them because we're not at the whim of the weather. So yeah, I obey them. Also, I'm on YouTube, and if I didn't, all hell would break loose. I have so much altitude. You guys want to do a set? You kind of do, right? Just double check for Ross, check my airspace. I think he flew on. All right. Sat position. I haven't sat in this wing in a while. But she loves the sat. Yeah, baby. Whoa, that was big. Oh my God. I went so over the wing there. Took all my outside brake to keep that inflated. Plus, that one actually made me a little nervous. I felt like I was low on energy. All right, good job. That was a fun little run. I haven't done anything big on this wing in a while, so you have to, every wing has its own amount of brake, its own pace. It's like some wings are big and swoopy, some wings are like small and jerky, and you have to get a vibe for reading what different wings want. Anyway, that went super well. I'm excited. All right, coming in for a landing. Got a vibe on the wind direction. Of course, my windsocks don't agree. They're practically pointing at each other. Thanks for that. Usually what I do is I sort of vow not to touch the throttle for the last 1,000 feet and really nail my spot landing, which is a good idea. Sometimes in the middle of the day, I change the rules a bit and say, like, hey, if you want to do a go-around, or if you want to make things a little easier on yourself, it's hard to land a motor midday compared to a free flight harness, which is much easier. I won't fly over my neighbors. I'm getting some lift right here. I'm not coming down at all. So I've got that to manage. See the power line? You probably can't, but I know where it is. I live here. See, I think I'm gonna clear the power line. I think this is going really well. Let's get out of our seat. Alright, coming in. Oh yeah! Like a butterfly with sore feet. That went awesome.